CM Punk reportedly backstage at Monday Night Raw. My response? Who gives a shit? Let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Smells Like Wrasslin. I'm your host, Eric, again on a Wednesday night. Got some stuff to talk about. Definitely a heck of a lot more stuff to talk about than we did last week, which was, I felt like, a pretty slow week. So we have CM Punk showing up at Raw. I mean, I swear to God, man, like, is this guy, like, okay? You know, like, is he nuts? Does he need to talk to somebody? Does he need a hug? You know, does he need to be interventioned? Because I'm telling you, man, this guy is doing some weird shit, you know? Like, he's getting to, like, McGregor levels of weird shit within, like, the wrestling community. Like, he's the guy who's getting into fights or getting fired from a company or quitting or all this shit. Like, what the hell is going on? He was backstage at Raw. Who fucking cares, I guess, at this point? You know, he was talking with people. He talked with Triple H and then was asked to leave. I mean, whatever. In more important news, the Messiah of the Backbreaker, Roderick fucking Strong, has signed with AEW. Thank God. I have been waiting and waiting for him to leave NXT. Like, outside of Johnny Gargano, Roderick Strong is one of my favorite black and gold NXT wrestlers. He was awesome. He had awesome matches. He was awesome in the Undisputed Era. He was awesome. I think he was in the Cruiserweight Classic, if I'm not mistaken. Roderick Strong is the man. Period. Okay? And now he's in AEW, and he's gonna have banger matches, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. There's a new title belt in the WWE, the World Heavy, what is it? The WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, I was getting conflicting reports from people, so I thought it was going to take the place of the WWE World Heavyweight title that Roman was holding on to outside of the Universal belt. That's what I thought. That Roman was going to stay Universal Champ, and then this belt is going to be the other brand's champion. So wherever he ends up at the end of the draft, this belt is going to be up for grabs on the opposite brand. Okay, but now I'm hearing also that those two belts are going to stay, like, active, and this is a third belt. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, I like the way the belt looks. I think it looks pretty cool. It's kind of like they found like a middle ground between the belt that they have now and the big gold belt that everyone likes. I mean, honestly, if they would have brought back like the vintage, you know, like Winged Eagle belt, nobody would have complained. I think more people would have been upset if they did some sort of variation of the Winged Eagle belt. I think they would be just as upset as the people who are fans of the big gold belt. But I like the belt. I do. I think if once I get the AEW replica, which is either really hard to find or when like it is around on AEW shop, it's like hundreds of dollars, like ridiculously expensive. I don't even think I paid that much for my WWE replica belt. But I got to get that belt first before I get this new WWE title. And also we got to see if there's any sort of legacy that's going to come behind it. Like, let's see who are going to be the first couple of title holders for this. So who knows what that's going to be, you know? But, I think it's because they're going to be doing a brand split. I think the brand split is a good idea. Like, I think creatively and telling storyline-wise, like, I don't think you need 2 episodes of the same ongoing story a week, you know? I think you should have Raw as its own show with its own storylines and its own champions and its own belt and its own unique style. I mean, technically, since Raw is a 3-hour show, it could be a different kind of show in terms of how it's presented. And then SmackDown is like the 2-hour show and it has its own roster and its own belts. Like, I like that, you know? An argument could be made otherwise, and it's a valid argument. You know, I thought one of the better things that was going on with WWE was that you got to see the bloodline on both Raw and SmackDown. Now, granted, I think you saw Roman more frequently on SmackDown since he was technically, like, drafted to SmackDown. And then he, would show up on Raw every once in a while. It was really the Usos that were doing the brunt of the hopping back and forth because, tag matches are tag matches. But I gotta say, man, like, after that, like, WrestleMania really took the wind out of my sails with WWE. Like, I was feeling something with that company that I hadn't felt in a really long time, and I was really excited about it, you know? I don't want to be down on WWE, but for the last several years, like, the storylines that they were telling and the people that they were pushing, it just wasn't what I wanted. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I was able to get that in other places. And then all of a sudden, I started hearing rumors about this really great storyline that's going on with the Bloodline and Roman becoming this champion. I think I started to get a little bit more reinvested somewhere around the time of Clash at the Castle. I thought that pay-per-view was great. I thought the match between Drew and Roman was awesome. They almost had me sold that it was probably going to be Drew's time. I mean, it was in front of his home country and all this shit, but I mean, I don't think if I were watching the entire like 900 to 1,000 days of Roman's reign, I probably would have known better, thinking that Drew was gonna win. Um, but literally they gave him like a Cena-esque run where he just mowed through everybody. And it's really only going to take like one other guy to beat him. And then this guy and Roman are going to play hot potato for the title for a while. Maybe a third person gets rolled in. I mean, that's exactly what happened with Cena. When Cena lost the title to Randy, it was like hopping back and forth between him and Randy for a while. You know, Randy held on to the belt for quite some time. When he had that triple threat match between him and Cena and Triple H at Mania, I honestly thought that like Cena was going to get it back. Like this was it. Like everything was going to go back to the status quo. And when he punted, I think he punted Triple H. I don't even remember how. I remember it ended with the punt. I was like, holy shit, he actually held on to the belt. And they made him like an actual pretty good like heel champion. I mean, that guy was mowing through everybody. He beat Jericho. He beat Shawn Michaels. He beat Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy at the time was going on a monster run with the IC belt. Like the crowd was really digging him hardcore. And he actually was able to ride that momentum for a while until several years later. I think it was a match between him, Triple H, and Edge for the world title at Armageddon. I don't remember what year this happened, but it happened. And then they finally pulled the trigger on Jeff Hardy. He had, I think he got into some, I think he actually got into some feuds with CM Punk during that time. Or I don't know if that was when CM Punk was World Heavyweight Champion, but you know, yeah, I don't know. I really think that they just, now it's just like, now Cody's fighting Brock. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I was all invested with Cody being the guy. You know what I mean? They built him up to be like, this is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy. And now they're just like, nope. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Cody not winning at Mania was a huge mistake. A huge mistake. There's like nothing more. Like, I mean, I'm going to say this every week. There's nothing more that you could do with Roman except for him to lose the belt. Every type of story that can be told with Roman has been told. All right. It's over. But I was listening to, I don't remember who said this, but I was listening to someone online and they were saying how, you know, a lot of the milestones in the legacy of the championships in WWE, it's all guys from the past. You know, they haven't made any modern day myths yet, you know, modern day legends, you know, aside from really Cena. So, I mean, technically you could also say CM Punk because he had a very long title reign, but they've basically erased him from the history books. So, but outside of Cena, it looks like Roman and, probably Orton, are the only guys who have held on to the belt for like a considerable period of time. You know what I mean? So now this new generation could be like, oh, I was there when Roman Reigns like had 1,000-day reign. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be Bruno Sammartino and Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Bob Backlund. You know what I mean? Like, a new generation needs new legends. And from the looks of it, they're trying to create them now. The problem is, I feel like if that's the case, if that's the initiative, then it's a forced creation. It's not happening organically. It's not guys who were able to get themselves over with the crowd and they were able to put great storylines and people were versatile in terms of storytelling and, you know, in and out of the ring. And those are the guys who held on to the belt longest because they stayed relevant longer. And I just, it's not like that anymore. Like they just do it. And I don't know. I just think it was a big mistake. I think anyone who says that Roman should have won that day, I think has a weak argument. I mean, yeah, you want to make him 1,000-day champion, fine, but like, really, like you're gonna do that whole build for Cody and then just have him lose at WrestleMania, and then what? He's gonna fight Brock and then he's gonna fight Roman. Like, this is what happened with the Becky Lynch storyline. Remember when she had that, all of a sudden she was on fire. She was, they kept on saying she's as big as Austin. She's as big as Austin. All this shit. They were saying all this stuff about Becky Lynch. And then all of a sudden she gets the title shot. And then she loses the title shot. And then it's Charlotte. And then she gets the title shot back. And now it's going to be a 3-way. And then it's going to be a 4-way. And then it's going to be this. And then it's going to be that. You know what I mean? Like, it became too overly convoluted for no good reason. And that's what they're doing right now. And I think it ruined the momentum of that story. I think the story would have been a lot better if they just left it, if they just got Charlotte out of the way completely, had her do something else, and then did the Ronda versus Becky storyline that everybody wanted. And then the first foil for Becky, as she's looking to, defend her title after she beats Ronda Rousey in this big match, after it's been built so well, then she could have fought someone like Charlotte, or at the time, I guess Sasha was around, so, any of the 4 horsewomen that they had, Alexa maybe, but no, it's just unnecessary. It's just drawn out for no good reason. And the proof of the pudding is that you could say that Roman's had a 1,000-day reign. Like I said, there's no other stories that could be told. I don't know. I think it was a big mistake. Hopefully Cody ends up winning a title. I feel like he has to beat Roman for his title or titles. You know what I mean? I mean, who knows? Maybe Cody wins and beats Roman, and then Cody's like, we're going to have one belt on one brand and one belt on another. It's not going to be this 3 belts nonsense, and that's going to be it. Or, I don't know. I mean, granted, I don't know why they would do that. I mean, it's pretty on par for WWE to just do long, unnecessarily convoluted storylines just for the sake of doing them. You know what that is? It's creatively treading water. It's like you're just trying to stretch things out so it's a longer period of time before you have to think of the next big thing. It's cheap. It's cheap. But yeah, let's talk about tonight's. Oh, so we got Royal in the chat. He agrees with me. He's saying it's a stupid decision in hindsight, especially after this week. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think now with, what was the other thing? Oh, the other thing that came out was Vince, or at least, WWE is being sued by someone formerly on their writer staff for, I guess what they're saying is the storylines that they were coming up with, that obviously they never ended up doing, or else we would have been talking about them already, were of the racial variety. Now, having a guy like Mansoor and saying he was going to be behind 9/11, or Bianca always taking off her earrings and saying she's gonna beat that ass or something like that. They had another one where they were going to have somebody chasing around Reggie and trying to hunt him and lock him in a cage. It's just some weird shit, man. You know what I mean? So, granted, I mean, no one's been in the writer's room. I mean, this could just be stupid off-the-wall shit that people are saying. But, in a public eye, it looks very bad. What do I think is going to happen? Nothing. I think as soon as the draft happens, no one's going to be talking about this anymore. I actually would not be surprised if after today's still, and no one was talking about this. I just think right now that at this point, Vince legally is untouchable. He beat the United States government. He beat Wall Street and the stockholders. He beat Ted Turner. He has just beaten he has slipped out of every single noose that they've set for him. He has dodged every single bullet fired at every firing squad they've lined up for him. This guy just can't be touched. He just can't be touched. And it's now, there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. I mean, obviously right now, if officially, Triple H is the guy who's steering the ship in terms of the stories and what goes on in the ring. That on all the stuff that you see on Raw and on SmackDown, he is the brainchild of what you're seeing on the screen. That is what we're being told officially. Now, there will always be people that as long as Vince is in the capacity that he's in, there will always be people that will believe that somehow, some way, he is influencing everything. And that he has the power to override anything. And anything that's thought up, if Vince decides that he wants to change it, Vince could change it. Do we know this for a certainty? We do not know this for a certainty. WWE has explicitly said that it's Paul Levesque. That is the guy who is creatively steering the ship. The reason why arguments could be said to the contrary is just the way of the booking right now. Now, an argument could be said that Triple H would have never booked Cody losing at WrestleMania. But he's not perfect. It is quite possible he thought that was a good idea and he's pulling a page out of Vinnie Mac's playbook just to draw out a storyline just a little bit longer before they pull the trigger on something. So, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. What do I think? I think that whoever's running the ship right now is making bad decisions. I don't care who it is at this point. You know what I mean? Whoever's running the ship in WWE in terms of their creative, in my opinion, is making bad decisions. Me as a fan, I thought the logical choice was for Cody to win, especially since you had Sammy and Kevin win. You know what I mean? Especially since I think they gave Solo Sikoa his first loss. Like, why do all that and not just close the chapter on this thing? Why leave a crease in the pages? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, I don't care. Roy in the chat is like, well, they've also lied about every step of Vince coming back, and no one has a reason to believe them. That is true. WWE has not been the most forthright company in historically. You know? They advertise incorrect stadium attendance for Manias. It's pretty much it's not just counting the fans in the stadium, but the people working there and the cast and the crew, like all the people involved in this entire production are counted. So technically it's a little bit overinflated. They've lied about, I mean, Vince was able to handle multiple sexual harassment suits with stock payer funds, ended up refunding he had to pay all that back out of his own pocket, which he made from stock that he sold anyway. So it's almost like he just rinsed and repeated. You know what I mean? He's putting that back into a company in which he owns stock in. So who gives a shit? You know what I mean? He's a billionaire anyway, so it was a drop in the bucket. He's now back in a position of power. He got rid of the board members he didn't want, and now he's king of the castle again with less interference than before. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's it. Like, he is going to be running this company until he breathes his last breath. And until then, there will always be a question as to whether or not he's influencing anything you see on TV. Which, if that's the case, then a shadow is going to be looming over Paul Levesque's career until Vince is dead and buried. And then only then will we see what the company would truly be like with Vince not at the helm. Because it looks like we really can't trust that he really is as hands-off as he says that he is. Honestly. I feel like the storytelling I got from Triple H and NXT was more than enough to make me believe that the guy's a competent storyteller and he could book great matches in the ring. You know what I mean? So when I see things that are so totally the opposite of that, it makes a guy wonder. Let's talk about tonight's Dynamite. It was a interesting show. Obviously all setting up to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view in May. We had Orange Cassidy defending the International Championship against Bandito. We had Jade Cargill defending the TBS title against Taya Valkyrie. We are going to have a defense and a match with Wardlow, and we're going to hear from him and Arn Anderson as well. We are going to also hear an announcement from Tony Khan. We are supposed to hear from Adam Cole after the vicious attack on him and Britt Baker last week at the hands of the Outcast and the Jericho Appreciation Society. We had one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions FTR, Dax Harwood, fighting Double J Jeff Jarrett. We had Sammy Guevara fighting Darby Allin. Winner of that goes on to fight MJF for the AEW title at Double or Nothing. And I don't know if I said this already, but Butcher and the Blade against Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita. So, we start out the night with Orange Cassidy defending the international title, defeating Bandito to retain the title. Great match. Orange Cassidy likes to, wrestle lucha, and obviously Bandito's a fantastic lucha wrestler, so they had a good, they meshed very well together. They were able to put on the kind of match that they wanted to put on. Great showing from Orange Cassidy. I'm kind of over him being the champ, the international champ. I need a reason to care about that belt, and the only thing to give me a reason to care would be a title change, because a title change usually means a change in direction as to what they're going to do with the belt. It ends up being a new person with a new persona and a new everything, and I feel like that's the next step for the team, for the international belt. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that Orange drops it at something like Double or Nothing, or even better at Forbidden Door. That kind of takes that belt off of television for a while. Let that be defended in New Japan and on the indies, like I feel like it always should have been. Then every week you could show clips of what the champion is, defending it at whoever. I think that's a good promotional tool for the indies. I think it's a good promotional tool for AEW. I think because they don't really do house shows. I mean, they're trying to do so now, but being that they don't do house shows, this would be the closest thing that you could get to it by seeing this title defended at your local indie promotion against one of the top names in your location. So I feel like it has a lot of potential. It's currently being wasted, and the only way we're going to really get that changed is by having Orange drop it to somebody and make that the signal of the changing of the guard. You know what I mean? But great match. Bandito's awesome. Orange Cassidy's awesome. Even though the pockets thing and the fake kicking sometimes annoys me, sometimes it takes me out of a really good match. Because I'm like, dude, do you really want to win? Like, come on, you're putting in this half-hearted effort and you're just going to be like, people? I don't know. But still a good match. We have Renee Paquette is backstage with Adam Cole. He says he's going to call out Chris Jericho, and if Jericho doesn't come out, he's going to come find him. Orange Cassidy and Bandito walk in. They asked Renee what they were talking about. She said, we're talking about Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, and they both just went, oh, and walked off. Renee Paquette, then the commercial break happens. Then Renee Paquette is backstage with Darby Allin and Jungle Boy. Darby Allin asked to just squash whatever beef that they had between them. They said they both said things that they regret last week, and they don't have to be friends, but I think but they should be able to respect each other. And he said if he had known MJF was going to get involved last week, I'm sorry, this is Darby Allin saying this. He said if he had known MJF was going to get involved last week, he would have been at ringside and not in the rafters. He said MJF is probably going to do it tonight, and he's asking if Jungle Boy would have his back. Perry said it would be nice if it were him and Darby Allin. Darby Allin said he would have beaten Jack Perry again. They kind of smirked, they shook hands, and they walked off. So, I mean, obviously, if you guys watch tonight's show, this is all, I think, leading up to the potential booking of a Fatal 4-Way for the AEW title at Double or Nothing. Obviously, this is the match that everyone wanted. This is the match that everyone was calling for. it would be a great opportunity for all four men to showcase how great they are, to showcase that the future of AEW is in good hands, that these are great professional wrestlers who could put on a great story in the ring. Now, I know that a lot of their mic work, except for maybe obviously except for MJF, still needs work. But this is stuff that I'm hoping gets better over the course of time. So at this point, I want to be able to see them in the spotlight in a big match. This is the first time that all four of them have main evented anything AEW. They've never done anything like this with the Pillars. So this is what needs to happen. This is what this company needs right now. I think a great showing at, Double or Nothing. I think a great showing at Forbidden Door. I think a great premiere for the Saturday show with potentially CM Punk is exactly the shot in the arm that AEW needs. I feel like they have been a little off kilter ever since the brawl at All Out. I think they were riding a massive wave of momentum with Punk going into that pay-per-view. And it's a real crying shame that everything fell apart right after that. And I think the only way to make up for that is for them to hit 3 home runs coming in within the next couple of months. They need to have they need to have more than 3. This is what I think for AEW to have a great year. This is what I think they need to have. They need to have great build-ups to these following events. Number 1, obviously the next pay-per-view, which is Double or Nothing. Number 2, Forbidden Door. Number 3, All In. Number 4, Grand Slam, if they do it again. They need to have great build-ups and great payoffs for all 4 of those shows consecutively. I think for them to recapture that mojo that they had a year ago when they were really riding a great wave. I mean, they had an excellent feud with Punk and MJF. You had Hangman with the title after a great storybook ending for him with the Elite. I felt like a lot of things you had almost everybody from the Undisputed Era minus Roderick Strong, until both things happened with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly got injured and Adam Cole got injured. So now with the roster they have now, and you add Punk back to it, and maybe hopefully we got a healthy Statlander, and I pray to God, and this has really been a string of bad luck for Top Flight, but AEW's tag team division needs a young tag team like Top Flight, and I really think that they have potential to do great things in AEW. The only problem is that those 2 kids can't stay healthy, and obviously that a very valid argument could be made. It's based on the style of wrestling that they wrestle, so. I mean, it's their bodies. They're going to do what they want to, with them, and they're professionals. So, I'm not sure. I really would hope they would get healthy. But like having that full roster right now, you have Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. You got him for about like 1 more year. The Bucks are moderately healthy. You got Matt Jackson with that torn bicep. Kenny Omega's back. Like, now if there was ever a time for AEW to do a big push, this would be it. And to be quite honest, that Wembley Stadium show is going to be huge, because with the roster they have right now, if Punk is actually coming back, and this would slate him coming back before All In, because I think All In is in August, if I'm not mistaken. All In is in August. Punk should be coming back sometime in June. So that's going to be a mega show. A mega show. And with the connection that AEW have, like, they could put on a WrestleMania-esque size event. Now, the countdown to them, to us finding really out what the demand is for these tickets is going to be May 5th. I think the pre-sale happens. So we, right now, it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen. I am predicting that it should be very successful. I do think that once those tickets go on sale, here's my issue with the whole thing, all right? If Wembley Stadium could hold 90,000. We don't know how many like tickets or seats or anything like that is available for this show yet. So we don't know if Tony's swinging for the fences and he's trying to go for all 90,000. Now, do I think that they could sell out Wembley? I don't believe so. I think it's very tough for anybody to sell out Wembley. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know. But you have so many other shows between now and then. Like, you're selling these tickets starting in May, and this show isn't until August, and you really can't put any focus on this show primarily until after Forbidden Door. So it's like, a lot of these tickets are going to be sold on good faith, on the hope that AEW is planning on putting the show to end all shows in the UK. And then, as time goes on and the cards start shaping, then that should start affecting what kind of ticket sales there are. Now, I said this last week, I probably said it the week before, and I'm going to continue to say it every week. They got to do it all. Every single major dream match that wrestling fans wanted, they have to do it all. I would not hold back. This is the time to do it. A lot of guys are aging or getting old. You're not going to be able to do many matches like this ever again. Now's the time. Now is the time. I think you do MJF versus Punk at All In, Wembley Stadium. I think you do the Bucks versus FTR. I think you do Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. You do Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. You do Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. You put on a major New Japan match that will make everyone go crazy. Actually, I don't know. Sometimes the strong style stuff takes everyone out of it, but I don't know. They got to do it all, man. They got to do it all. They got to have Jay White in a big match. You got to have Adam Cole in a big match. You got to have all the titles on the line. You got to obviously have Orange. You got to put all your big names out there. Like, it's all systems fucking go, because you only are going to get one shot at doing this. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, yes, they could always do Wembley Stadium again, but I really think that depends on how successful this is. You know what I mean? So, and how do you book this show and still have enough gas left in the tank for the 2 shows that you have prior and the 1 show that you have, and actually the 2 shows that you have after? Because if you're going to do Grand Slam every year, you got Grand Slam, then you got All Out. Because All Out is like that, like, late summer, early fall pay-per-view. And if you're doing All In August, that means All Out is like 4 or 5 weeks away. You know, like, what do you, and then that means what? And I think Grand Slam ends up being a couple of weeks after. I mean, what are you going to do? Arthur Ashe is a 20,000 seat stadium. The first time they did it, they had 20,000. The second time they did it, they kind of barely went over 10,000. I think they did what, maybe 12, maybe 14. I'm not sure, but that card wasn't as good as the first time. You had Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. And like, it doesn't get any better than that. The New York wrestling market was salivating for that match, and they got their money's worth. That match was incredible. You know what I mean? But they've been teasing that there's going to be some sort of eventual collision. Also, you have a potential blood and guts. You know, it's possible that any one of these pay-per-views, they might put the blood and guts match in just for the sake of, they may not be able to do it on television. You know what I mean? They may, but hey, they have Collision. They're going to have more television time. They're going to be able to tell more stories, which means they could book more matches for pay-per-views, which means a lot of guys are going to have a lot of storytelling and things to do and time on television and exposure and time for the crowd to make decisions, and that's going to influence who gets pushed. AEW is primed to get really back in the game, I feel like, but a lot of things have to go right and so many things could go wrong. We'll see what happens. Jeff Jarrett defeats Dax Harwood. Obviously, this had some interference in the match. So when this match started, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why am I seeing Jeff Jarrett on my television? Why am I not seeing some of these other guys who could really use the exposure? I'm thinking ahead. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking the interim. But I'm not going to lie. The match that Jeff Jarrett and Dax Harwood had was pretty cool. As a wrestling fan, I dug it. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, it had the, a little bit of chicanery and tomfoolery. With Jeff Jarrett's crew, with Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt, but it was a solid match. Obviously this is supposed to be leading towards some match. I'm assuming it's going to be Jarrett and Lethal versus FTR for the tag belts. But like Jarrett and Lethal, like, didn't they already challenge for the tag belts against the Acclaimed? Like, am I losing my mind? Like, did that not happen? Oh, Undisputed Era versus an AEW tag team? That could totally happen. But it depends on what members of Undisputed Era are even going to be around. Right now, like, they've only ever at most had 3 of them. You know what I mean? They had Adam Cole, they had Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, but they didn't have Roderick Strong. Now it's just Cole and Strong, with O'Reilly in rehabbing from serious injury, and Bobby Fish is on Impact. But Impact and AEW have had relationships, and they're on good terms, so there's always a possibility. So who knows? Tony Khan is backstage. The announcement he has is the second Owen Hart Cup. He said the opening ceremonies are going to take place at Double or Nothing. He said the tournament will take place in Canada, also at Forbidden Door, with the finals taking place in Bret Hart's hometown of Calgary on July 15th. So that tournament I thought was pretty good because it was just, you could book that tournament just based on the quality of wrestler. Like, I mean, sure, you could use it as a vehicle for a storyline, but it's a great way just to see matches for the sake of having matches, but there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, those Owen belts don't really amount to anything, but you get to see a tournament, a guy gets pushed, and you kind of get a little bit of a sneak preview of who's a guy that you should be paying attention to, or gal, because they do a women's tournament, you know, like to be paying attention to in the future. Sorry, guys. The first winners of that were Adam Cole and Britt Baker. So, yeah. Wardlow defeats some jobber. Arn Anderson comes out. He says, the NFL draft is happening tomorrow, and he's like, this is where picks become dynasties. He's like, Wardlow was a pick that I knew was going to be a dynasty for AEW. He said, and then he was, they were interrupted by Christian Cage, who came out with the repackaged again Luchasaurus. Now he just has more stuff strapped onto him. Cage looked like that they were going to get in the ring. They backed down. Wardlow and Luchasaurus locked eyes. So I'm assuming the next opponent for Wardlow is going to be Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus, obviously, I don't expect him to win any belts. He's kind of like a utility guy at this point, like a big monster that they could use to either squash someone or put over somebody. Renee Paquette is backstage with Sammy Guevara. She's immediately interrupted by MJF. MJF goes over, gives Sammy a kiss on the forehead. Sammy goes over, gives MJF a kiss on the forehead, just totally being just overly lovey-dovey with one another. They laugh, saying they don't care what people think about them joining forces. Guevara says he has a fat paycheck. MJF presented and gave MJF a matching leather vest. MJF gave Guevara a Burberry scarf. They hugged again. They said they're best friends. And the Pillar Tournament final was going to be the next segment. Let's see. RJ City was backstage to talk about Kenny Omega teaming with Konosuke Takeshita for the first time. He gets attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley says they got some scars to leave, and Taz was ecstatic that RJ got beat up, which I thought was hysterical. Sammy Guevara defeats Darby Allin to win the Four Pillars Tournament final. This was a match that obviously it had everything you would expect from a Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin match. They're two daredevils who were just going to put their bodies on the line, and they sure as hell did. Darby got busted open over his eyebrow. Ty Mello, which is Guevara's wife in real life, did some distracting. Guevara did a 630 senton off the top to the floor. They also put Allin through a table. MJF tossed Darby Allin's skateboard to him. Sammy Guevara flops. The referee, Paul Turner, turns around, sees Darby Allin with the weapon, sees Sammy Guevara laid off, and rings the bell and disqualifies Darby Allin. Darby Allin losing, the winner of the match and advancing to get a title shot with MJF at Double or Nothing is Sammy Guevara. They were celebrating. Shivani had made mention that Tony Khan was talking to him in the headset. Basically, Darby and Jack Perry were arguing with one another. Sammy and MGF were having a laugh at their expense. Tony Schiavone pops up and tells him to shut up, you prick. Says that there's going to be a tag match next week. It's going to be Darby Allin and Jungle Boy versus Sammy Guevara and MJF, and the winner of that match it'll determine the main event at Double or Nothing. So if Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, if Sammy Guevara and MJF win, it's just going to be them two at the main event at Double or Nothing. But if Darby Allin and Jungle Boy win, they will be added into the match and it will be a 4-way. I'm expecting this to be a 4-way. It should be a 4-way. You could stretch this out, and then all of a sudden MJF has one-on-one matches all the way leading up to the last person who beats him, which I think is going to be Darby Allin. That's why they kind of did the feign with Darby Allin almost getting a shot. This goes back to, I think it was Full Gear, when Darby Allin and MJF fought, and MJF beat him with the headlock takeover. I think it would be awesome if Darby won the title by pinning MJF in a headlock takeover, but I think it'd be poetic justice, but we'll see. But that's what I think. I think it's going to be a fatal 4-way at Double or Nothing. I think that's absolutely the right call. Renee Paquette tries to get a word in with MJF and Sammy Guevara. They were just screaming at each other. They were pissed off at Tony Khan. MJF was about to get into a truck that was waiting for him. Sammy Guevara tries to join him. MJF said it was full and drove off. The camera actually pans in, and you can see that the SUV was empty. And pretty much he drove off and left his best friend hanging. So it looks like it's a little dissension in the ranks between the best friends of Sammy Guevara and MJF. Adam Cole addresses Chris Jericho. Cole he goes into the ring. He demands Jericho come out. He said what they did to Britt Baker last week was unforgivable. He said he didn't care if he talked crap about him. He didn't care that he had Daniel Garcia jump him. But them attacking Britt was unforgivable. Cole was about to leave the ring to go hunt Jericho down. Excuse me. When Jericho's music hits, Jericho says he doesn't want to be anywhere near but he actually shows up on the big screen. He says he doesn't want to be anywhere near a coward like Adam Cole, so he sends his guys out to go get him. That cues Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager to hit the ring. They start putting the boots to Adam Cole. All of a sudden, Orange Cassidy's music hits, and him and Bandito run to the ring. They try and help out. The numbers were still too much. Then all of a sudden, fucking Killswitch Engage, End of Heartache hits. As soon as that hit, I was like, holy fuck, I can't. Is it going to be really Roderick Strong? Like, I didn't hear any news. I haven't heard any news about him for a really long time. And sure enough, Roderick fucking Strong comes back, beats the shit out of everybody, backbreakers everywhere. The Messiah of the backbreaker is all elite, and I couldn't be happier. Roderick Strong and Adam Cole hug one another, and they reunite now in All Elite Wrestling. So awesome things. Roderick Strong is the man. I'm super excited for him to be in AEW. I just want to see him wrestle awesome matches. If you told me Roderick Strong was going to wrestle every Rampage, I would watch every Rampage, 100%, just to see that guy put clinics on. They put on another edition of QTV. QT Marshall is trying to explain to his people what happened last week. Powerhouse Hobbs runs into the room. He's all pissed off. He pins QT against the wall. Hobbs demanded that QT fixes what happened because obviously Hobbs lost the belt. He keeps telling Hobbs that he's a man of his word and they're going to go to plan B. So let's see what QT has in store to get Hobbs' TNT title back. TBS champion Jade Cargill defeats challenger Taya Valkyrie to retain the TBS title. The stipulation of the match was that Taya Valkyrie cannot use the road to Valhalla. It was like one of those things where like she had the match won. She was gonna hit the what do you call it, her finisher, and she forgot that was a stipulation, and that caused her to lose in the end. It was just like, it just kind of made her look a little bit stupid, so I was a little bit bummed out. It was kind of cool that she was about to do that to Aubrey, but Yeah, she forgot that she couldn't use the road to Valhalla. She stopped in mid-match and she got destroyed. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter are backstage with I think they're just backstage. I don't think they were with anybody. They were just talking into the camera. Hayter was wearing a sling from when her arm got injured last week at the hands of the Outcasts. And Britt Baker had a black eye. They basically talked about all the ways that the Outcasts have screwed with them and said, good form, but hey, people think that we're nice, but just wait until we're mean, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to declare war on the Outcasts, but it's just the two of them, so I'm wondering who the third person is. I think it would kind of be cool if it was Thunder Rosa. I think it shows a unified front because they kind of talk some, a lot of, Thunder Rosa was getting some very bad press after she had had that injury when she won the title, and she was getting a little bit of bad press during her title run and before. So, like I said, AEW United is a very strong and I think very a company that has a very high ceiling and a lot of potential. And I think Thunder Rosa, if utilized properly, and she could, basically fix the holes in her game, which really is her promo work and storytelling. I think she could be a huge asset. So that would be kind of cool, but who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? Main event tonight, Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita, accompanied by Don Callis, defeated the Butcher and the Blade, who came to the ring with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Awesome match. Really, this was all leading up to the post-match story where the Blackpool Combat Club were trying to recruit Takeshita. Takeshita said no. They beat the shit out of him. They stabbed him in the head with the screwdriver. The Bucks cleaned house. So once again, the Blackpool Combat Club is on top. I think this takes Takeshita out of the picture in an injury angle. And I think this is the way for Hangman to come back. And then we finally get Hangman reuniting with the Elite to take on the Blackpool Combat Club. And I'm assuming a blood and guts match. I think this is great. I think the sooner this feud ends, the better, because I think that the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman have bigger and better matches to start building, especially with all these big shows coming up. I think you can't do as much with them in storylines as a group. I think you could do more with them when they're separate storylines for the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman. And I think there's a lot of unfinished stories that a lot of these guys could do, so we'll see. And that's it. Rampage for this week. The card is as follows. Ricky Starks and Sean Spears take on Switchblade Jay White and Rockhard Juice Robinson. We got Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee in tag team action. Anna J.A.S. versus Ashley D'Amboise. Cash Wheeler fights Jay Lethal. And the Acclaim have a segment. And we are also supposed to hear from the Outcasts. Dynamite next week so far is MGF and Sammy Guevara take on Darby Allin and Jack Perry. If Darby Allin and Jack Perry win, they are added into the MGF Sammy Guevara match for the title at Double or Nothing. Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, Bandito, and the newly arrived Roderick Strong take on Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager. So this is a little hodgepodge team taking on the JAS again. And more gang warfare going on in AEW. And that, my friends, that's the end of the show. I got nothing more to talk about. But a lot of interesting things going to be happening this summer. Definitely, we're going to be wanting to keep our eye on what's going on with the draft and how WWE is being booked moving forward. A lot of big shakeups have been going on in WWE, from the removal and return of Vince McMahon, the sale of WWE, the merger of WWE and UFC when Endeavor purchased them, this particular lawsuit, creation of a new belt, and the rumored brand split and draft. So a lot of things are going to be changing for WWE within the next couple of months. And a lot of things are also going to be changing for AEW in the next couple of months. A lot of big opportunities, a lot of opportunities for them to step up to the plate. And they're going to have to hit some home runs, people. I think for them to get a little bit back of their mojo, for them to start seeing those ratings creep on up. I think 1 million is an arbitrary number. I think any increase they have is good, and any decrease they have is bad. So I'd love to see more eyes turn to the product because, obviously I'm a fan of AEW. I want to see them succeed. I have no worries about, WWE and their longevity. So no matter what they do, they're fine, which is evident in their booking and their continued success. So, like I said, another big year for pro wrestling. The last couple of years, it's been on fire, especially with the creation of AEW, the rise of the indies, NXT. It is a great time to be a fan of pro wrestling. It wasn't a good time to be a fan of Arsenal and Barcelona today. My teams failed me. You want to know who it's a good time to be a fan of? My New York Islanders, who are about to come back and take this series away from the Carolina Hurricanes. And my New York Knicks, who just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and will be moving on to round 2 of the NBA playoffs for the first time since 2013. So it is a good time to be some of those fans, and it is a bad time to be other fans, but it is always a great time to be a fan of smells like Wrasslin here on YouTube. This has been episode 61. My name is Eric. I will come back to you next week. We're going to talk about news in wrestling. We're going to talk about the results of the main event of Dynamite, which will shape the main event of Double or Nothing. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. Spread the word about the podcast. Let everybody know. Any of your friends who like wrestling, let them know. 10 p.m. every Wednesday right here on this YouTube channel. Hearing it from one of the greats. And this channel is only going to get bigger and better. So you want to be the ones who said that they've been here since the beginning. So be here. Watch greatness. Take care, everybody. I will see you next week.